That's not quite how it's happened.
Well,
as you well know, I sacked you. And I said, what's a freelancer? Suddenly realised that this is what I wanted to do. And I looked at him in the eyes, and I thought, this guy is really stressed out. And me arguing with you, it's because we care. I got him a large whiskey. It probably wasn't PC nowadays, but at the end of the day,
that's what he needed.
That's what he needed.
Yeah.
Specifically thank me for getting him through one of the hardest things that he'd ever done in his life. I got no, what's the name? No makeup.
No.
I got stung yesterday.
What, boy?
I don't know whether it was a bee or a whatever, but that old bloody itch.
It's probably I bet you it was a horsefly.
I don't know.
You want to get an antihistamine in you?
No, I'm fine.
With them, they can be horrendous. Last time I got stung by one, I was in Bridge North Hospital.
They don't sting you, they bite you.
Yeah.
Horseflies bite you.
Yeah. My name's Glenn. I'm the MD of Hughes Productions, and I'm joined today by my dad, who is previous MD of Hughes Productions, who started the company in 1983, was it?
Yeah.
So we're just going to have a bit of a sit down and talk about the where the business originated, how it kind of formed and became the company it is today. Let's start with the first question, which is, how did you go from being a DJ to a camera op?
Right, okay. Well, the thing is I didn't actually transition from one to the other. I was actually a camera op. That's how I started the business back in 1983. At the time, I was a DJ, but what I was doing was I was actually DJing at night, so obviously there was loads of time. And I was videoing during the daytime. So it wasn't necessarily a transition or a case of me doing one thing or the other. I was actually doing both. The filming side went from doing really nice weddings, and I mean really nice weddings. I mean, traveled the world doing, weddings in France, and I did St Paul's Cathedral, and a few other places, really nice places, helicopters and JCBs delivering bride and groom, and Anyway, so the video side of it actually got better and better and better, and the DJing side actually waned a little bit. I gravitated more towards the video side.
Let's kit.
Realizing that there was a lot more longevity. But yeah, it was always a game plan to pack in the discos before I was 40, which I happened to do before I was 35. And because the video actually took off, I started to get more and more work in the industry that I really, really wanted to get into, which was the corporate side of video. And we made a lovely video in 1991, I think it was, early 90s, for Queen's Park Rangers Football Club. In a nutshell, wanted to put a retracting roof over the top of their pitch, and they wanted to find a way of making it a all-in-one enclosed feature so that they could actually do concerts and they could actually do other things apart from football. And I met a guy called David Bulstrode, multimillionaire, lived on Jersey. I learned a lot from him. He was a very creative guy. Unfortunately passed away, but yeah, so I worked with him, even though he was the CEO of Queen's Park Rangers. And I also worked with a guy called Don Smith. Don Smith, prolific sort of writer, screenwriter, and he wrote the script for me. And we went ahead and did the video. It never actually got done, but it has been done since with Wimbledon and a few other places. So anyway, so that was the corporate side of it, and I loved that. Really did love that.
And that's where you started Hughes Video Productions.
That was I was still doing discos then,
right?
But as I say, it was early 90s. And then, would you believe, I got in with Banksy's Brewery, and it was a case of we actually made a video for Banksy's Brewery, or several videos. And then, as I say, that was about the mid-90s. And what happened was the production company, or at least the marketing company of Banksy's Brewery, asked me if I knew any conference companies. To which I said, yeah, of course I do. And I didn't, but I said I did. And within a couple of days, I'd actually sorted myself out as a sound technician or a sound engineer in Tim Nightingale, and a lighting company who actually did theatre lighting. And with me doing graphics and video, we
pulled it together.
Pulled it off. And that sort of opened my eyes up to what can be done, what could be done.
Was that your next question is, so was that your first introduction to like the AV industry as a whole, or had you just not got any idea about it before then? Or
okay, so the only thing that I couldn't source, or I could source but I hadn't got any understanding of, was 3-gun projectors, red, green, blue. So I rang a company in Birmingham, spoke to a guy called Steve Dodd, who was the managing director of OnView, who put me in touch with another technician who came and did the job on the first day, a guy called Phil Healy, who's still a great friend of mine. Phil went back to the office and said to Steve, you want someone to come and see this guy work? It's really good what he's doing. And sure enough, Steve Dodd came out on the second day and stood behind us. I hadn't got a clue who he was, even though I'd spoken to him on the phone. I just saw him as a guy from OnView who turned up to oversee what was going on. I was approached by Steve Dodd, who said, how would you like to become a freelancer? And I said, what's a freelancer? And he said, basically, you come and work for us and we pay you a daily rate. And literally, that's what I did. So I went to OnView. And that was the major transition where I realised there was something that I really wanted to do that was as rewarding as being a DJ. DJs are great, and they're entertainers, born entertainers. Anybody who DJs wants to entertain, wants to do the best they can. But as a technician on a conference where things have to happen at a precise time, on a precise day, where you can't turn around and say, oh, I've got a cold, or I've hurt the arm, or whatever, you have to turn up. Suddenly realised that this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah. And I think everybody in this industry has got a story of a time when they've been extremely ill and they've had to go to work, and there's no ifs, ands, buts or whatever. You turn up, you get your job done, and you go home and die at home.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is people pull together when you've got somebody, who is a technician who is ailing a bit or failing a bit, or even on a downer, somebody may have passed away in the family, or something may have happened to a pet, or anyway, whatever it was. The camaraderie of technicians who work on conferences is beyond, it's beyond comprehension, because, as I say, you wouldn't get that in the normal workplace.
No.
But you do, because let's face it, everybody who works on conferences, technicians and whatever, they're all caring people. But as I say, everybody in the industry are such lovely people. And the industry can catch you out. If you are a little bit obnoxious, or, you start turning up late for jobs or whatever, you become unemployable. Yeah. And as I say, the industry finds you out very, very quickly.
I remember kind of I think it was about 1995. I think I was 6 years old, and I remember you being away for an extended period of time. And I remember going from school and going and picking you up from the airport. And I think that was kind of my earliest memory of you being away.
Yeah, and something, traveling the world is great in one respect, but in another respect, it's actually part of something that becomes a dislike. Traveling to and from fantastic countries is not the thing.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be on a plane for 15 hours.
No.
Nobody wants to be on a plane, 5 days a week, flying from one place to another, because it's the travel and the hotels that are the bugbear. And let's face it, sometimes you may be in a 2-star hotel or B&B in Blackpool, and then other times you might be in a 5-star luxury hotel in Dubai. But it's the travelling. The travelling is the killer. And speak to any technician. And okay, at first everybody loves it. It's great. They're going on holiday. They feel like they're going on holiday. But believe you me, they're not. Being
away from your family is like horrible. I think you've got to do it. You've got to go and do your job.
As I say, I had some great times and worked with some great people. But the thing is I actually formed a bit of a niche in the market, because a lot of the camera guys who did the conferences, unfortunately, couldn't edit. And in those days, it was 2 machine edits. It was all either U-matic or Betacam.
Yep.
Which you don't even hear about now. But
I remember as a kid, and I still to this day go into your garage, because that was where the business was run from, and you had your U-matic editing suite upstairs in the garage, and I still to this day go in and I switch the light on and think, what's my dad editing?
Yeah. And when I was copying 20 VHS tapes at the same time, the last thing I wanted was somebody to switch the lights on and cause a glitch, because you have to stop and rewind to do them all again.
And I did it so many times, and I would just hear that, Glenn!
But as I say, I formed this niche in the market and went out, and I was able to video or film and edit on site.
When did it stop being Dave, the technician, and start being Hughes Productions?
Not only was I doing the videoing and the going away and doing lots and lots of work abroad, there were times when they didn't need somebody going abroad with a camera. So what I did was actually learnt disciplines like sound and a bit of lighting. I don't profess to be a great lighting guy, but what I became was a general technician.
Yeah.
So, and some people frown on that. Some people hate general technicians because they don't actually specialise in anything. But believe you me, they are needed, because when a job comes in and there's nobody around, you need somebody who can do sound or lighting or whatever.
You need multiples of general techs who can just muck in and get stuck in.
And as a consequence of that, I was given free rein to go and do small jobs on my own. Did a job once for US Robotics, and US Robotics had been bought out by a company called 3Com. And what they were doing, they were basically going around practically every city selling their wares to the local people. And as a consequence of that, there was a 3-year ongoing rolling project in Europe, and there was all satellite countries that took part as well. I think it was 2 or 3 crews. I think it was 2 crews who were out there in Europe in vans, sort of hopping over each other and getting to venues and setting up. And they would then pack away, and they've got a day or whatever it was to get to the next venue, whilst another set of crew were. Anyway, so and what happened was, I was then employed to do all the satellite countries. So flying out to Iceland, and I did Russia, Moscow. And I did the Middle East. So I did Dubai, and I did Jordan and a few other places. Maybe not Jordan, but I flew to Jordan. But I may have done Kuwait. I did Kuwait.
I remember you doing that, actually, because I remember we had to get you a passport.
Yeah, I needed 2 passports. And the reason was I did Israel. I did Israel. And because I'd worked in the Arab states, because I'd done places like Egypt and, as I say, a few places. you're not allowed into Israel, or at the time you weren't allowed into Israel with an Arabian stamp. So that was a no-no. So I had to get a new passport. But yeah, we did Israel and all the islands as well in Greece. So I did Cyprus. Had some great times there because it was set up and basically working with. At the time, I was working with 2 German guys who were giving all the spiel and what have you. And we had quite a good relationship by the time the job had finished.
That was kind of set you up then to start the business as an entity.
Yeah, I was quite comfortable because I was a little bit older than most of the technicians in the industry, and I still am. Would you believe? A little bit older than most. But the thing is what it did was it. I suppose it didn't got me out of my comfort zone. Because obviously I'd been a DJ for 20 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I was able to turn up, do what I'd got to do, know exactly what I was going to do, strip it down at the end of the night, whatever. Whereas when I was traveling the world, I was on my own, but I was there and it was on my head and I felt comfortable. I really did feel comfortable. So when I came back from doing all that and I was on, the bigger events where you've got 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people in a room and everybody is doing their discipline and you're just doing one discipline, I found that even easier because all I'd got to think about was the bit of kit that was in front of me. And generally that was a camera. And somebody else was doing the vision mixing. Somebody else was calling the shots. Somebody else was telling me what to do. So actually I felt quite at ease. And I really did find it easy and rewarding at the same time.
Hughes Productions, you dropped the video and you slowly picked up a couple of clients.
Yeah. If you enjoy something, it becomes your hobby and you'll never work again.
Yeah.
We've all heard that one. But I started to surround myself with decent people, people who I could rely on, who said, if ever you got a job or whatever. Early 2000s was when it started to take off. And what happened was, it wasn't a case of me looking for clients. I certainly didn't do that. And I would never do that. That is a complete no-no, trying to get somebody else's clients on board. But in actual fact, what happened was clients were getting in touch with me, and it came across in a way that, well, if we don't use you, we're definitely going to be using somebody else. So you're going to lose the chance to be our client.
Yeah.
Or our supplier, but also the chance to work for us through the company you're working at the moment. And I was put in a very awkward position. It became quite complicated at times. But believe you me, and I say this with hand on heart, I never went looking for clients. They just came looking for me.
I think you just have to do a good job, and people recognise that, and they come to you. Yeah. That's how I found it anyway.
Yeah. Lighting works, sound works, all the rest of it. But it's the giving your clients confidence. And because I was slightly older than most, even when I was in the big environment and there were lots of young lads around me, and probably I was probably one of the least experienced, but the client always looked at me because I was the oldest guy there.
Yeah.
Which is totally wrong. And it's, sometimes it's the youngest guy who's probably the most experienced, but you've just got that aura around you and people trust what you do. And once you gain their trust, then you gain a client.
See, I've probably had the opposite experience of that.
Yeah.
Because I was always, whenever I was doing jobs, I was always the youngest on site. Being your son, I always got a leg up over most. The hotel staff, clients have walked in and gone, right, you're in charge, and they've pointed to somebody in the corner who's 20 or 30 years older than me, and they've gone, no, it's him. And they look at me and go, him.
Yeah. As long as you come across as being a competent person who can deliver what they're asking, that's it. You've got a client, and not only a client, but a client for life. If you look after them and nurture them, and treat them with respect. Okay, we all know that clients, don't have the best ideas or don't have the best work ethics or whatever. I've been in jobs where, I've got in there at 4:00 in the morning and I'm still there at 9:00 at night. And that's just the way it happens.
Yeah. So early 2000s, into the mid 2000s, that's when the business kind of established itself, and you started becoming more of a company rather than an entity. You weren't just you.
Well, it was always Hughes Productions. It just transitioned into full production,
conference and events.
And as I say, people took the leap of faith and employed me. One thing led to another, and one client leads to two clients leads to four clients.
Yeah.
But what I was doing was searching out, as I say, the right freelancers who would work with me, and also the companies who would supply me kit. Because at the time, I'd got no kit. In fact, I think the first thing that I bought, obviously, was cameras, but the second thing that I bought was set. I always remember actually making a set in our front living room.
All right. Oh, yeah, I remember those days.
On the coffee table.
I remember those days of coming home and all the furniture being outside on the patio, and there being, full set panels with blue felt.
Absolutely. And as I say, it took off from there, and we started doing quite a few award ceremonies, London-based. And I got in with the lovely Katina. And she used to ring me up in January and give me 20 dates or whatever it was, 15, 20 dates, put them in the diary. And we just take it from there.
So I think I started working for you about 2005. I think I was 16.
You'd come on jobs when you were 12 and whatever.
I used to, be asked not to go to school for a day or two. If I knew that you were working and I could go and earn 50 quid, I would get out of school for a day.
I took you to Euro Disney, I think it was.
Yeah.
We did a big job in Euro Disney. You became interested in, doing little things and what have you. And at 16, I think you left school and come and join me.
Well, I went and worked for another company for a couple of years and learned a lot outside of you.
That's not quite how it happened.
Well,
as you well know, I sacked you.
No, this was before you sacked me.
What, oh, really?
This was when I was. So when I was.
Hang on.
So I left school.
So you did,
I left school and I was working with you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I took you to ATC.
That's it. I got a job at ATC and I was working there for
work experience.
18 months. I think I worked there.
I think you did work experience there first.
No, I did work experience at MCL.
Oh, did you?
Right. Yeah, my work experience was MCL when I was 15. When I was 17 when I went to ATC, worked there for 18 months and then came back to work for you. So that kind of moves on to the early days of us working together.
Which were fraught and frantic.
Well, I was probably about 18 and a half, something like that, 19 when I started working for you full time.
Yeah, typical father-son relationship.
Yeah, it was difficult some days.
Yeah, well, the thing is life is difficult, especially when you've got two such an age difference.
Yeah,
and also, by then I was already an experienced technician. Although you knew your discipline, you didn't quite know everything.
No,
and that's not a bad thing because everybody's got to learn somewhere.
No, and I think in the early days I was very. I was quite arrogant, I think. And I did think I could just kind of crack on and do what I wanted. And
but as I say, that was father and son.
Yeah.
You wanted to do it your way and I wanted to do it my way. And I was the boss and you were the lackey.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because we've always said, I think you agree with me on one thing, and that is you shout at each other. And you moan at each other because you care.
Oh yeah,
the be all and end all is not you and me.
Yeah.
The be all and end all is the client.
Yeah.
The client is the one. That's the one who puts food in on your table and
Yep.
and feeds you and pays your mortgage and all the rest of it. And me arguing with you doesn't necessarily get us anywhere.
No.
But it's because we care.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I always say this to clients whenever I'm, working on jobs, and especially new clients that come in. I always say, look, there's probably going to be a time where we'll fall out. We're going to disagree on a set colour, a video, something. And I always say, but remember, it's not because I'm trying to tell you what to do or I've got an ego. It's that I want the job to be as good as you want it to be.
Yeah.
And we've got our own ideas, and those that sometimes, you just come to a disagreement, but you get through it.
Yeah. Well, that once again comes back to, when you're on stage with the CEO of a massive company who isn't looking forward to making the speech, and your experience and your calmness can actually help somebody out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always remember a little story. It was at the Belfry, in one of the satellite towers, and there were about 15 or 20 people in the audience, and the CEO of I'm sure it was a car company or a car manufacturing company. He'd basically got to get up in front of these 25, it might have been 30 people, and tell them they were all going to be made redundant. At the time, I didn't know what he was going to say, and I certainly didn't know that he was the CEO. I just thought, oh, we're here to do a job.
Yeah, yeah.
He's going to make a speech, and it's sounding lovely and all the rest of it. And I looked at him in the eyes, and I thought, this guy is really stressed out. So what I actually did was I went to the bar and got a double whiskey. I got him a large whiskey, and I took it back to him, and I said, there you go. I said, just drink that. I said, it probably wasn't PC nowadays, but at the end of the day,
that's what he needed.
That's what he needed.
Yeah, yeah.
And basically, he drank this. Then I went and sat and did whatever it was, sound. I might have done sound or whatever it was. He dropped the bombshell, to which didn't go down very well. But they all left the room. He stayed behind to specifically thank me for getting him through one of the hardest things that he'd ever done in his life. And that was a bit like taking me back to the days when I was a DJ and somebody coming, like the bride and groom, or somebody at a venue coming up to me and shaking my hand saying that was the best night I've ever had in my life.
My ethos of the industry, especially the event side of the business, is that we don't necessarily, do events. We don't just, put an award show on. What I try and do is I try and create experiences.
Yes.
So that, the client, more importantly, the guests, the people in the room, the paying customers, the sponsors, they leave the room and they're blown away by something in that evening or the whole thing.
That is your focus, because you are giving them an experience. You are giving them something to talk about.
Yeah. And
there are a few people who forget to thank the crew. They don't realise that it's all put together.
I think that's our, as technicians, that's our problem.
Absolutely.
We do everything in secret.
Absolutely.
Everything is done, either early morning, late night.
Yeah.
Around the back of whatever. Yeah. And we wear black clothing because we don't want anybody to see us.
At the end of the day, do people who walk in at 6:00 at night to have a nice meal and an award ceremony realise that the technicians have been there since 6:00 in the morning just to make them have a good time?
Yeah.
No, they don't.
No.
I don't think they do. A well-fed, looked after technician will work 3 times as hard as somebody who's not looked after and not fed.
When I was kind of going out on my own with the crew and looking after them, was you always said to me, look after the crew will look after you. When did you realise that, the company would carry on with me and I would take over? Was it after you sacked me and I came back?
No. Because we were doing jobs together. We were doing big jobs. And we'd got, 4 or 5 technicians with us doing the jobs. Your role suddenly become focused. You went into doing lighting. And you, what experience you'd had from ATC, you started to do very good lighting, and the other technicians were noticing that. Whether you were capable of running the company was another question. It was whether you could actually command the respect from other technicians. That's what you need to do. Being young and being intelligent and being quite good at what you do is one thing, but gaining the respect from your elders is another thing. And you were just the wrong side of 25 at the time, and you were still being seen as a kid. And you were having to work twice as hard to gain half as much respect. But I do remember how old you were, and that was 26. You were 26. And I thought at that time, you ready?
It was HR awards. I think we'd lost the HR awards to another company.
Yeah.
And a year later, the guy who was running the show was he offered it back to us to quote.
Yep.
And I remember you kind of saying to me, look, go for it, have a go.
Yep.
And I probably spent a week putting, the quote together, looking at designs, coming up with ideas, speaking to crew, finding out what was possible, what we could do within the scenery.
Yeah.
And I pitched it and I got it. And I think I took it off a very well-established company who were based in London.
It was a London company, yeah, absolutely.
And
a London company, dare I say it, who had no respect for their clients. It was just another job to them.
Yeah.
They were doing massive jobs, big jobs, but using crew who weren't interested in what they were actually doing.
No.
And yeah, you won the job fair and square. It was a pitch job. You won the job. But you took a fantastic crew to that job.
Yeah.
Who they knew and felt comfortable.
Yeah.
And felt like they were being wrapped up in cotton wool. And once again, you gained a client.
For me as well, I think that was kind of a pivotal moment in my career that I remember back and think, that was when it shifted, or I thought I'm capable.
We trialled a couple of things that you'd suggested and what have you. But it was shortly after that. It was 2014, maybe 12, 13, 14, somewhere in that area, that things started to change in the industry. And what I mean by change is suddenly you weren't working for a middle-aged person anymore, somebody who were top of their game in their own company. What became very prevalent, especially in the hotel department, was that younger people were now taking degrees and studying the technical side and the production side.
Yeah.
And then moving from hospitality in hotels and moving into the industry. So now you were dealing with 25-year-old people who knew what they were talking about. You had more respect given to you because you were of the same age.
Yeah.
And you got on because that's what young people do.
Yeah.
They gel and they, one of your fortes is the superhero movies and all the rest of it. And I wasn't into that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other things that you were into that I would necessarily wasn't into.
Yeah.
And you could have a better conversation with the younger
generation people around us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is a big difference. I think people kind of your age in the industry they're in the industry because they're
stalwarts.
They fell in.
Yeah, they're stalwarts. They were there because
they didn't know it before. It just happened.
Yeah.
Whereas like people my age,
yeah,
and younger, I don't think I class myself as them, because I didn't necessarily set out to be in the industry. It was just something that was kind of. It was there. I was able to take advantage.
Yeah.
And it happened. But I think a lot of people, they set out nowadays, or my age group and below, they actually set out in the industry to be a lighting technician or a sound technician or a graphics tech.
We found that if somebody was talking to you, I would leave you to it.
Yeah.
And if somebody was talking to me, you'd leave me to it.
Yeah.
And we bounced off each other, and that was quite a good thing, because we learned an awful lot from each other.
Looking back now, like what's the one thing you miss from being a technician on the road?
I don't miss the flights. I don't really miss the countries that we went to, because when you went to different countries, Cyprus 3 days, you don't see Cyprus. You don't see Dubai. You don't see a lot of places. That's not what I miss. It's the camaraderie. It's the going away with 20 mates, 10 mates, 5 mates. Yeah. It's the other guys who keep you going.
Yeah.
The client says, "Yeah, that's it. We're overdone. We're done." And you go out and you have a drink with your mates, and you talk about other things.
Yeah.
You talk about, your life and what you're doing and all the rest of it. These are, the technicians and the guys who you surround yourself with are your best mates. You only realise it when you are coming up to that age where you think, "Oh, I'm going to see these again. We're not going to do another series, or we're not going to do another conference, or we're not going to do another reward ceremony."
I think COVID for me was awful, but the one thing I missed more than anything was just going on site and being with the crew. And I think it was the first job back. We all got on site and we were all smiling. Everybody was just the happiest Absolutely. I'd ever seen anybody on site.
It was euphoria.
But within, I would say, probably an hour and a half, we all went back to going, "Oh, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Where's the food?
Yeah.
Do you want a drink? Oh, there's no tea and coffee. Then put the tea." You know what I mean? So it was, we were all really happy, but it didn't take long for us all to start moaning again and moaning about the coffee or the sandwiches or what.
Some technicians find it really difficult when they retire. Because, if they're not married, or, they've been traveling the world or whatever, and it means that they become isolated. We all love the industry. The industry is the be-all and end-all of what we do and what we enjoy.
Yep.
But it's the connection between certain people. And there's people in the industry who I keep saying, "Yeah, I'll come down and see you. Yeah, I'll come down and see you." And I never quite get round to it, and I should do.
Yeah. Because of my connection with you, I know all the old techs and all the old guys. So whenever I see pictures online, shared by either yourself or the old guys, they will share a picture, and I'll be like, "Oh, that's so and so, bloody hell!" Look at them then, and I love then watching the comments coming in from like yourself and all the other guys, and going, "Oh yeah, do you remember this and doing that? Oh yeah, that was rubbish." Or being in the events industry, especially, is a way of life for most people, and I know loads of people who literally who will dedicate their entire life to the events industry, and not get old and resent themselves for it. They love it. They've loved it, and loved every single minute of it.
Don't think of your job finishing when you've actually learned your discipline.
Yeah.
Your discipline is getting on with other people.
Yeah.
And doing the job and making sure that you're doing your job, and you are a small cog in a massive machine.
And I think, 8 o'clock at night, when you think, right, I've done my 16 hours.
Yeah.
And the client walks in and goes, could we move the set a little bit?
Yeah.
And you just go, yes.
I've had that as well.
I've had that. Kind of think that kind of brings us to the end.
Okay.
Thanks, Dad.
That's all right.
Thanks for having a chat and talking about where it started and how it got to where it is today, and thanks for watching or listening to us talk drivel.